build it, he will.
It's the Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Cowk.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Cowk with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
Good Thursday morning out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports right here on 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. Glad to have you along for the next hour. Man, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. College football toward the end of the show. OU, can they avoid looking ahead? Everybody knows what's coming up next week down in the Cotton Bowl. Iowa State has been a little bit of a pain in their neck, especially defensively, over the last few years. Sooners got to watch it. The slate's a little lighter this week. There's not those 6 ranked matchups like we had last week, but there are still some pretty good games around the country. And also, Jared, it feels to me like there are more teams in the hunt this year than there ever has been in the playoff era. So my question is,
to make the playoffs.
So win the whole thing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm all the way. I don't think there's a great team out there. Do you feel like there's a team that's just head and shoulders better than everybody else?
No one's going crazy about
Doesn't feel
Georgia
like it,
right
yeah.
now. I see where you're going.
So how many teams do you think can realistically win the title? Which in the past it's felt like 1 or 2, even at this point in the season.
It was always 2 teams that were on a collision course for each other. It felt
kind
like.
of felt like, Bama,
Yeah.
Clemson there for a while, Georgia and whoever they play the last couple of years. So we can discuss that. It starts tomorrow.
Well, there's a lot. There's football. There's high school football.
Yeah, but that's already started.
Well, I meant like district for
It's
one
already
team.
started.
Yeah. I don't
The
know.
Ryder Cup.
That's right.
The Ryder Cup starts
I
tomorrow.
thought that this morning. It's like we haven't even talked about it.
We're going to talk about the Ryder Cup a bunch today. Victor Hovland, see what happened today?
He aced a hole.
He made a par 4.
A par 4?
Yeah, he made an ace on a par 4, number 5.
How far is that?
305 yards. You know what that's called?
What? For me, it'd be a miracle. What's it called?
2 names. Double Eagle or the cooler one, Albatross.
Albatross.
I would go with Albatross.
Albatross.
We'll talk Ryder Cup. We'll talk Friday night.
It's not just called an ace?
Well, you can call it an ace, but on a par 4, it's cooler than just an ace.
Okay.
Albatross. Got to get with it, Jared. Football games coming up Friday night.
Tomato, green jacket, gold jacket. Who give it? Go ahead.
Oh, well, you want the green one. You want the green one. 4A games. There's some big games around 4A1 games, I guess, and then there's some big ones around 4A. A couple that I'll highlight. Of course, Class A, Class B. Ronald Acuna went 40-70 last night. Damian Lillard got traded to the Heat. Oh, no, he didn't. He went somewhere else. Cool story in fast pitch softball, Alva and Silo. Then, of course, all those regionals get started today. Some of them started yesterday. We've got some results. It's a packed show. If you want to hear the entirety of the next hour, too bad. We'll probably go over. I'm just going to put it out there right now. 225-9698 is the phone or the text line. It's 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. Talk about any of those things, whatever else might be on your mind. Feel free to chime right in at 225-9698. If you're going to be outside the listening area one of these days, you want to stay in touch with the show, you can do it a couple of ways. Log on to kadsam.com, or the better option would be to download the Paragon Communications app. It's free to download. It's got everything we do. We're talking about radio stations, the Penny News. You can check out the brand new Penny News online, thepennynews.com. Also, go pick up a free copy of that Penny News. It's there everywhere where you're at your favorite local newsstand. Big Elk and Paragon TV. Big Elk TV on today, right?
Yeah,
11A.
Less than 2 hours.
11A for the fast pitch softball. Of course, football tomorrow night as well. Paragon TV, Merritt takes a long trip up to Texoma. And then Hollis and Snyder down in Hollis. So those games will be on there tomorrow on ParagonTV.com. And, of course, the Skinny on Sports podcast. If you miss our show entirely, you can find it everywhere. New podcast drop. How are you today, Jared?
I'm well. You doing good?
I'm doing just fine. Starting to get excited about the game tomorrow night.
Okay, I thought for the Ryder Cup.
No, there's no doubt.
There's a lot to get excited about.
Single Aaron would have attempted to wake up at like 1:30 in the morning. I think it's actually 12:30 our time, and check out the first shots of the Ryder Cup. Married Aaron would probably get beat up for something like that.
Over 40 Aaron
Yeah.
likes his sleep.
Well, I'm just afraid that the other person that sleeps in that bed would be infuriated.
Well, don't you have can't you sneak out and go to the living room or
I
something?
I can, but I just don't. That doesn't.
Have you hooked up a TV in that beautiful backyard of yours yet?
Not yet.
Well,
No, we've been slacking on that, man. It seems like we just had stuff going on.
well, it's hard to be home anymore. You're always out somewhere
It feels
doing
like it.
something.
Feels like it, but we haven't done it yet. But it starts tomorrow. Yeah, that's exciting. The game's going to be exciting. Let's start with the Lillard trade. How surprised? Just it felt like that talk had kind of died down, and I'd almost resigned myself to the fact that Damian Lillard was going to start the season with the Blazers.
Yeah, me too.
And then all of a sudden, bam, he gets traded, and then to Milwaukee.
Yeah, I did the double take. I looked down because I saw the M and the I. I go, oh, okay, he went to Miami. Just like, wait, Milwaukee? Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Where did they come from?
When did Miami get to be like 12 letters long?
Oh, yeah, what? Milwaukee? Yeah, a little surprised.
I think it has to do with all this trade. Milwaukee pulling the trigger right here has to do with one thing and one thing only.
Keeping Giannis
What
happy.
Giannis said a couple of weeks ago. He came out and said, talked about not wanting to sign the extension yet because he wasn't sure how committed Milwaukee was to winning a title, and he wanted to be somewhere that was committed to winning a title. And this is Milwaukee's way of doing that. On the floor, I'm anxious to see what happens because it feels like they lose quite a bit with Drew Holiday defensively. The question is, can Dame make that up with the offensive firepower that he possesses? I think it's only the second time in league history that two guys who averaged over 30 the year before will now join forces on the same team. Elgin Baylor and Jerry West back in the 60s for the Lakers are the other duo that kind of got, they were on separate teams and now they're together after averaging 30 the year before. I'm fascinated by this because if it works, the Sixers feel like a mess, not knowing what to do with Harden. Miami, can they replicate what they did last year? I mean, they've been to the finals 2 out of 4, Eastern Conference Finals 3 of 4, with a team that doesn't seem like it should be that good. Maybe I underrate Jimmy Butler just a little bit. But when you look around the Eastern Conference, it seems like, speaking of collision courses, Milwaukee and Boston are on one to meet in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right. I wonder about Lillard's. How old is he?
33.
I mean, where is he at in his career?
Well, it maybe this.
He seems like he's been in the league for a long time.
11 years.
That's a long time.
11 years.
So everyone, like, blockbuster trade, he's a big name. I get all that. But does this, let's face it, he wasn't last couple seasons.
He averaged 32 last year.
Yeah. But but Portland was just not good. Maybe this does elevate him to closer to a championship because he's on a more capable team.
Oh, it definitely does that.
Yeah.
And with that age.
My question, though, is the age. It's the age thing.
Yeah, but, okay, here's the thing. He's not being asked to carry a team anymore.
And can he concede to that?
Well, maybe that's what he's thinking. You know what? For 11 years, I've tried to carry a franchise on my back, and I've done a pretty dadgum good job doing it. Hadn't got to the very highest level, but Portland's been kind of in the mix for the most part in his 11 years. Maybe he sees an opportunity to go, you know what? I'm still pretty good. I'm still really good. But Giannis will take so much pressure off of my game that I don't need to carry it. I don't need to be Batman. I can be Robin.
But the egos, man.
But they both
in the league sometimes.
Both of them have said over the past year and a half or so at different times, when asked the question, who would you pick to play with of all the players in the league? Who would you pick first? And both of them have said the other.
Really?
So this is something I think they've wanted to do. Giannis picked him first as the captain in the All-Star game over he's actually proven he'll do it.
Yeah.
So I think the chemistry, at least off the floor, is there to start out with.
It's already there, yeah.
Now, whether or not it works on the floor, that remains to be seen. Because it feels like, Giannis, does he need the ball in his hands all the time? I don't know. If he'll go down in the post, no. If he wants to play around on the outside and shoot threes, which is not the strength of his game, then maybe he does need the ball. But I actually think this works. I know they were talking about it after us. The trade was made, and Jim and Barry for sure didn't think that thought Milwaukee's actually worse because of Drew Holiday and his ability to play defense. He's also 33, though. Doesn't it seem like Drew Holiday's younger than Damian Lillard? I was kind of surprised that they're both 33.
Yeah, it took him a little bit to get going.
On the other side of it, Portland, does it even really matter? I don't think Drew Holiday plays a game in Portland. I think he gets moved. Miami could be a spot, and it actually could be blessing in disguise for Miami because that team with Drew Holiday defensively becomes an absolute nightmare to play against with Butler, with Bam. Those guys can really guard. And then Ayton goes to Portland. Portland, whatever. They get picks. Probably this has to be a better deal for them than anything they could have got from Miami, though, right?
Oh, they had to take the best deal they can get.
And
I applaud them for not bowing down to Miami. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They could have said, because both parties were, Lillard wanted Miami, made that clear, and Miami wanted Lillard, but the front office at Portland said, well, you're not giving us anything. We want more. We know what he's worth. We had him for so long.
Right.
And we know, and they didn't bow down to it. They weren't bullied by Riley and company over in Miami. I bow down to that. So score one for the small market, right? I mean, Portland, I guess, is kind of a small market. Milwaukee definitely is, and they come out on top with this for now.
And then there's Phoenix.
Phoenix
unloads Ayton, which I think
no one really was wanting him around there.
Durant and Booker weren't.
No.
So it's almost addition by subtraction just to get him out of there. But then also, Nurkic, who knows? He's been hurt so much that I don't know how much of an impact he makes. But, Grayson Allen is a guy that nobody likes, but he can actually, he can shoot. Nasir Little, I thought, was a good player at times for Portland. He's one of those guys that would just kind of seem like jump off the page once a week. Like, that Nasir Little just had 35. I'll be darned. Sometimes it's against the Thunder. That's how you really notice. So that, it kind of replenishes Phoenix's bench from what they had to give away with the Durant trade. So I think that really kind of works out in their favor in a lot of ways for Phoenix. And then, obviously, Portland's trying to rebuild, and Dame and Giannis and Chris Middleton are one of the best trios in the league. So in a lot of ways, to me, this is what a trade's supposed to do. It's kind of supposed to help everybody out. You're not supposed to just knock somebody's head off every time.
Now, who would do that? I mean, who would agree to something that makes a team worse unless they're wanting the tank or something?
Right.
Yeah, they want it to work. Everybody wants to. So, yeah, it was a triple win, I guess, for everybody.
Yeah, especially the two teams that are in the hunt with Phoenix and Milwaukee. I think it worked for both of them. Acuna goes 40-70 last night. I'm a little bit older than you. Do you remember the Canseco 40-40 chase back in the late 80s? Probably not. Too young.
Very vaguely.
I mean,
I just remember the Bash Brothers.
That was such an amazing event. Like, nobody had ever done it at the time. Go 40 home runs, 40 stolen bases, especially a dude that big. I mean, I was 7 or 8, so steroids didn't cross my mind, but they probably should have. A guy 6'5" shouldn't run like that. But anyhow, but I mean, I know the rules are different with the pitch clock and you can only throw over it, all that. I heard Jim talking about it yesterday that Ricky Anderson would steal 200 bases if he knew they couldn't throw over at a certain point. But still, 40 home runs, 70 stolen bases, that's an amazing year for Ronald Acuna.
MVP.
Him and Betts. There's a compelling argument for both of them. in the National League. Your Rangers got to win. Do you see what happened in Houston and Seattle? Have you ever seen that?
What's up with that pitcher?
Well, here's the deal.
Was there history behind there?
I think so. I think Julio went deep on him like 2 years ago and went all the way around the bases, like celebrating at each base kind of.
Oh, wow.
And he didn't forget.
He remembered that.
He remembered. But I don't think I've ever seen a pitcher strike a batter out and then just absolutely sprint toward him. I thought he was just going to go tackle him.
Yeah, I thought, here we go.
Like, there's a strikeout. I
saw the highlight, yeah.
I thought he was going to give him a strikeout and a butt whipping all in the same 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Cooler heads prevailed.
Insane.
That was pretty wild. Baseball, your Rangers got to win. Magic number down to 2.
2, so.
But, okay, I'm almost positive that I read that there aren't any, like, playoff games to get into the playoff. They've came up with all these tiebreakers.
Okay.
And if that is true, which I'm almost positive it is, you're guaranteed a wild card.
Yeah, I stayed up waiting for scores to go final, and as soon as that went final and Houston went final because Houston needed to win, I was like, okay, update the standings, put that little asterisk that said make the playoffs, and
they
it
still haven't
happened.
I know,
so
they haven't.
I wonder if there is still a scenario where if they were to lose, say, the next 4 against Seattle and then Houston wins out, I don't know.
I think I think the reason why you haven't clinched is the availability of a 3-way tie. And whatever the tiebreakers are in the 3-way somehow doesn't work in your favor.
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's why. But if it's just a 2-way tie between Texas and Seattle, I'm positive Texas wins because they're 8-1 going into this 4-gamer right now against them. Anyhow,
gotcha.
Baseball. But I think maybe if Houston, they'd have to win 2 out of 3 to end up at 73 losses against Arizona in this 3-game series coming up starting tomorrow. Texas gets swept, then all of a sudden everybody's at 73 losses, 89 and 73 to finish. That may be why it's not on there because I was the same way.
Just keep it simple, Texas. Just win the next 2 out of 4.
Just win 1, Houston loses 1, and it's over.
And that's the West?
That's the West. Magic number down to 2. Glad to have you along here on a beautiful Thursday. You know, I did see maybe some cooler temps by the end of next week. Highs down toward the 70s.
The end of next week.
The end of next week, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Cool.
Could we have some fall, y'all?
Maybe. That Saturday night, we're having Katie's birthday party. It's our first Saturday we don't have anything going on. So we're having an outdoor movie. So it might be hoodie.
I think it was like 79 for the high.
Might be hoodie weather by the time the sun goes down. I did notice leaves starting to change this morning.
Did you really?
When I was getting in my truck.
I'll be honest with you, that makes me a little sad.
It made me think, crap, I got to rake up some leaves. If I don't, they just blow right into my back porch and just stay there. Yeah, it's starting to turn. That time of year. Been to Walmart lately? Got the pumpkins out everywhere. Got all the Halloween
Don't get me
candy.
started on pumpkin spice.
Oh, there's pumpkin spice everywhere.
Enough with the pumpkin spice.
There's pumpkin spice Frosties at Wendy's.
I saw that. Yeah, that's what I knew. That's when I knew pumpkin wins, Aaron loses. What's wrong with pecan spice? I go in this rant every single year at this time. Pecan is so much better than pumpkin. It's not even close.
You know why pumpkin's not really good? If it was good, people would eat pumpkin year round.
Correct.
They only eat pumpkin during the fall.
Mm-hmm.
You don't eat pumpkin pie at Easter.
No, but you might have a pecan pie at Easter.
Yeah. You have pecan pie at 4th of July.
Yeah. That's clearly the winner.
You can eat pecan pie year round. Pumpkin pie is just a novelty pie.
Yeah, because it's not very good.
It's like, oh, it's pumpkin season.
Yeah, and if pumpkins didn't have anything to do with Halloween, you'd never eat it.
That's right.
Pumpkin.
Best part about pumpkin is blowing them up.
Yeah. I would love to see, I would love to see the pumpkin mom blow that giant pumpkin up.
Oh, my goodness.
It might reach to here.
That'd take a lot of, that would might get the FBI in your backyard if you Pack that thing full of tannerite.
Tannerite,
Try
had to blow it up.
The FBI might be questioning why you're purchasing so much tannerite.
No, really. I kid you not. There was a 1,300-pound pumpkin.
There's some of it. There's
Yeah.
some of it. There's some of it.
That's how a BS story starts, I think. No, so we had this 1,300-pound pumpkin, right? Turns out she really did. Okay, high school sports this week is jam-packed. We've already had some of the fast-pitch regional and super regionals, I guess, start. I don't think any super regionals in our area, but one did down at Silo. So Alva traveled to Silo in 3A regional, super regional action.
Yesterday?
Yes, yesterday.
Why Wednesday?
I don't know. A bunch of people played Wednesday.
Huh. Okay.
Now, this was not a novelty. I don't know, maybe Alva for football, having to get back, and they want to get back, like Coach Murray said yesterday. That's why Elk City moved the times up
Oh, I get
to
that.
get people back. But so Alva and Silo split 1-1, and we'll play game 3 today. Alva's bus broke down, and so the Silo coach made arrangements, got him back to the motel, and then his son just happens to be a mechanic and fixed their bus.
Very good.
Overnight or in the evening time.
That's great.
That's a cool story.
Well, that's what it should be.
Very, very cool. Okay, starting today, right here.
Would you fix, if you could, would you fix an opponent's bus?
I'd probably wait to see if we won game 3 today. Yeah, I'm kidding. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Fix the bus.
Even if it was Weatherford's?
Yes. Glad there's not
That's
camera.
good for you,
Glad
Aaron.
there's not a camera in here. Yes, fix everybody's
Of course
bus.
you would.
That's just the nice thing. Because here's the thing: if you mess around and don't, you'll probably karma will
There
bite
is
you
karma.
in the tail,
Karma will get you.
and you will need your bus fixed at some
Yep.
point, and they'll say, "Nope, sorry about that." Remember back in 2023?
Exactly. Karma is a thing.
Yep, you don't want any part of that. All right, so today, go on out at the Fiveplex. The Elk City Elkettes hosting a 4A regional. 11 o'clock start against Paul's Valley.
The Valley, as they call it.
The Valley.
The locals call it.
I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Paul's Valley because that's where Coach Dean Hill coached golf, and he lent me his golf shoes my junior year in high school when I forgot mine at the state tournament. So Paul's Valley always has a little soft spot in my heart. 11 o'clock that game, then Bishop McGinnis and Bridge Creek will play at 1. Losers will play at 3, winners at 5. You can watch the Elk City games, Big Elk TV, but get out there. I almost didn't even want to say you could watch it on Big Elk TV because you need to have a crowd.
Take
Get out
a
there.
lunch early. You got to just go tell the boss, hey, boss, I'm going to take my lunch at 11 and not noon. Head on out there. They got a concession stand. Get your hamburger. I think they usually do the onion burgers if you ask them. And watch it and root them on.
Oh, Scott on the text line. Ouch.
Oh, I haven't even opened
Fix
the text
the
line.
bus to where it breaks down on their way home.
Wow, Scott Garrison.
And that wasn't Scott Garrison.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, Scott Garrison. That
Yeah.
wasn't you.
Oh, by the way, programming note, tomorrow, voice of the Red Tornadoes, Dennis Smith, will be on 9:30.
Oh, great.
Right after Scotty G
Great.
exits stage left.
It's always nice to hear from Dennis.
Absolutely. Okay, so you got Elk City at Paul's Valley, 11 o'clock, Bridge Creek McGinnis at 1, losers at 3, winners at 5, right here in town. That's a 4A fast pitch regional. A couple of them started yesterday. Over in Weatherford, Lady Eagles beat Medill 11-1. McLeod clipped Marlowe 12-11. Then Marlowe came back and beat Medill, knocked them out 12-6. Weatherford beat McLeod 8-0. So today, Marlowe-McLeod play. Winner gets Weatherford, has to beat them twice. Otherwise, the Lady Eagles will be moving on to the Super Regionals. Over in Newcastle, Sulphur beat Clinton 6-1. Newcastle beat Sulphur 13-3. So now today, Sulphur Clinton play for the right to try to beat Newcastle twice. Let's see, on the back of the page, Carnegie was one of those weird spots where the host didn't get to host, or the top seed didn't get to host with Tushka. Everybody met in Carnegie. Tushka beat Carnegie 17-0. Navajo edged Shattuck 5-2. Then Navajo doubled up Tushka 6-3. Shattuck pounded Carnegie 13-1. So today, Tushka and Shattuck play. Winner gets Navajo, has to beat them twice. So those are the regionals that have actually started. Today at noon at Mountain View, you got Mountain View, Godebo, and Maud. The other two are Hammond and Fort Cobb, Broxton. That'll be at 2 o'clock. So Mountain View, Maud at noon, Hammond, Fort Cobb at 2. Up at Lady Bison are the top seed. They get Beaver at noon. Chattanooga and Grandfield will play at 2. And then the other weird one, where the top seed isn't actually hosting, at Dover, Arnett and Dover play at noon. Moss and Lakiba Sickles at 2 o'clock. That's Class B. Let's see. Class A, Moreland, Moreland's and Ripley. They play Drummond at 2. Ripley and Woodland at noon. Repo Butler gets things started today. They get Laverne at noon. Wacoma Sealing at 2. Sentinels and Sterling. They play Sterling at noon. Hollis and Bingaroni will go at 2 o'clock. And then Cheyenne and Hydro meet up at Cyril. That's a 2 o'clock game. Cyril and Apache get things started at noon. I think that's everything in the fast pitch world.
Good job, by the way. That's a lot to juggle.
Well, thank you, Jared.
Good job. Now we got baseball to talk about.
We do. I'm pulling it up right now. So in baseball, I think this is always weird that baseball starts later than softball when it takes so much longer to play.
I have no explanation for it. Maybe they're, I don't know.
Anyhow.
Don't want to play at the same time. You're right, though.
Of course,
it's a longer game.
But the thing is, they don't finish the bracket out because 2 teams in baseball get to go to state.
Right.
So maybe that's why. Okay, so starting today at Oktaha. Isn't it Oak? Oktaha? I thought so. Canute played them at one point, I think, in a state tournament.
I think so.
We've seen him at the basketball state tournament as well. Oktaha and Hydro, 2 o'clock. Okarche. You know who the head coach at Okarche is? A guy that terrorized you in baseball. Terrorized the Red Tornadoes from right here in Elk City, Oklahoma.
Streeter?
No.
Who?
Player. The one you're terrified of.
Yost?
Matt Yost.
Really?
Matt Yost is the coach at Okarche.
Oh, cool.
So Oktaha and Hydro at 2, Okarche and Tushka at 4. That's an Oktaha.
He didn't terrorize us. You know why?
You walked him?
Because we walked him every time.
Have you seen that video
that
of Greg?
last game we played him, we lost like 2-1 because we never let him hit. We just put him on. We didn't care what the situation was.
Have you seen the video about Greg Maddox?
No.
Have you seen him? He's talking. He's just sitting around talking. Somebody asked him, "What about was Barry Bonds the hardest guy that you ever had to pitch to?" And he said, "Absolutely not, because if the bat meant anything, you just walked him. It was easy to pitch to him.
Yeah.
If it meant anything, you just walked him.
Just put him on. Yeah.
All right, Canute's at Worcester, 2 o'clock. Did you figure out where Worcester is? It's clear over there, northeast Oklahoma.
Is that LaFleur County? It's near.
Oh, you think it's south, north, south, north,
LaFleur
southeast.
is south and east. I think it's in that area of Tallahena.
Yeah, it is. I was thinking of something else.
I looked it up on a map, and when I was zooming in, I started seeing a lot of familiar names we see, like in state baseball and in the big house in basketball, all those small schools. That whole area right there.
Howe, Heavener, Poto, south of Poto.
What's the other one that was on?
Red Oak.
Red Oak's down there. Yeah, it's in that area. I'd imagine a really pretty area, too, with all the trees.
Worcester Lake. It's right there by Worcester Lake.
Yeah.
LaFleur. Yeah, LaFleur's right there.
About 4.5-hour drive.
Here at Tallahena.
They're probably on their way.
I hope so.
I was wondering. I was talking to the AD last night for booster reasons, and I was like, well, they might be leaving tonight. You get up there, you know what I mean? But I think they're on their way. Yeah, that's the part of the country you got to kind of
Jeremy, off the top rope.
Keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah.
Among other things.
If you hear the faint sound of banjos, lock the bus.
Don't go down any shady roads.
Man, when I was in college.
It's a different country down there, man.
When I was in college working actually in Canute at Beck and Root.
Yeah.
I would go on the trips to supply like the different
you
Walmarts.
took some trips, did you?
Well,
Yeah?
and that was the one I didn't want to go to, Southeast Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because, anyway. I had to a few times, but I didn't want to.
Yeah, I remember driving down there for vacation summer of 2020. We went down there to Ho Chi Town.
Oh, it'd be awesome.
And just
I've been
drive.
there.
It's, again, a different country. It's my first time to be down in that deep part of the southeast part of the state. And it is different country.
I played many a golf tournament at Idabel Country Club.
Idabel, yeah. I
The
played
what was that called? I can't get Nescatunga out of my head. That's at Alva. What did they call that festival? Oh, it was like Memorial Day weekend. Me and Bondo played a couple of times.
Yeah.
Me and Hostetler played once. Oh, I'll think of it.
I played Beavers Bend that summer.
Yeah, I never played there.
And I had to hit into and play through more deer than golfers.
That's always cool.
The deer were just everywhere. And they didn't care. It's like, hey, you're on my land. They didn't care. They just look at you when you're hitting. Anyways, we're getting off topic.
That's okay.
But, yeah.
Back to Class A baseball. I think that's everybody in this area. Class B, Fort Cobb.
The text line is gold today. I don't know if we should say that one.
It was not the My Mother is My Sister tournament. That's not it.
Wow. That's from the text line. Not
225-9698. I'm feeling a little Ron Burgundy-ish. I might just read anything you send.
Exactly. Oh, man.
225-9698. All right, Class B, Fort Cobb plays Smithville. Granite is there as well against Mulhall, Orlando. Fort Cobb at 2, Granite at 4. Hammond is at Calumet. The Chieftains play Big Pasture, Asher, and Hammond at 4. Leedy's down at Stewart. The Bison do play Stewart at 2, Roff and Caney at 4 o'clock. So that is your rundown of all the various regional tournaments in fast pitch and fall baseball. What do you want to talk about now? You ready for Ryder Cup?
I'll do my best.
Want a break?
I'll do my best with the Ryder Cup.
Here, I want you to answer this question. Let's go down to the bottom. College football. How many teams do you think can win the title?
Oh, wow.
You don't have to name them.
No, I don't. I'm like, yeah, maybe. I'm going through my head. Man, there's a ton of contenders in Pac-12 if we're going this route. Man, around 7 or 8. If things go their way.
I had 14.
You put 14?
I did. 3 in the Big Ten.
Okay, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State.
I mean, I don't think that's a stretch whatsoever.
No.
I had 4 in the Pac-12.
Okay, I'll do it for you.
Okay.
USC, Oregon, Washington, Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't think that's out of the realm of
No.
possibility. I had 2 in the Big 12.
OU, Texas.
I mean, I guess you could say Kansas at this point, but that's hard to fathom.
Well, let's just see what happens this weekend.
ACC, I put 2. That should probably be 1.
It's just Florida State.
Unless Duke beats North Carolina, unless Duke beats Notre Dame this week, then that changes. And I kind of included Notre Dame as an ACC just because of their thing.
Even with the loss right now?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
The way they lost that game.
Because they lost they lost to, how they lost to.
And who
them.
they play still. They can still beat Duke. They can still beat USC. They've got plenty of chances.
That's right.
And then I had 3 in the SEC.
Georgia. I feel like there's a curveball here. Georgia. I think Bama still has an opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
LSU.
Yeah, for sure. And who knows? I mean, Tennessee,
right now,
Tennessee could go on a roll.
Yeah.
They've just lost once.
Right now, all those work. Now
Right.
that'll start to work itself out as the season goes on. Because you just said a lot of those teams have to play each other. Like Notre Dame has to play USC, and of course the Pac-12 might cannibalize each other down to one team.
But even as we hit October, in years past, that number had already been whittled.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think it's a function of in years past, you see, oh my gosh, Bama is awesome. Oh my gosh, Clemson is awesome. Or Georgia, or even Ohio State a time or two, where you're just like, whoa, they're good. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's the case with anybody right now.
No.
I just don't. Now, somebody might start to emerge and really play well.
Yeah, I think we're still kind of waiting for that. Like, because of all those we're still kind of like, okay, who is one that we're going to say, oh, wow, this is their year? And it might be like in Oklahoma if they can get past Texas, and then people are going to look ahead. Well, good night. Look at the rest of their schedule. You have to consider them as a playoff team. Or I'm just using them as an example.
Texas is in the next 2 weeks. If they win both of those games, it's smooth sailing.
Yeah.
With that Bama win tucked in their back pocket as well.
100%. I posed this question to Toby last week, and I'm standing firm on it. It's so weird that I want Texas to not only win this week, and OU. I mean, when's the last time they've both been undefeated in the Cotton Bowl?
2011, I think.
Been a minute. It's been a while.
I believe it was 2011.
That elevates that game so much.
And that was the first of the two just absolute beatings that the Sooners put on them.
That's right. Forgot about
It went
that.
back. That one was like 55-10 or something. I was there for both of them.
That's right. But then on the other side, whoever wins that game, I want to see a rematch in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
Just for very many reasons.
It's interesting that preseason, I would have thought Texas had a way harder Big 12 schedule than Oklahoma. Having to go to Baylor, having to go to TCU.
Well, now it's not really looking like that.
And Tech.
Oh, Tech looks bad now.
Yeah. Instead, UCF looks like a way tougher game than, say, Tech. You know what I'm saying for Oklahoma?
Yeah.
They both play BYU. The difference is OU has to go there. They both play Kansas. The difference is OU has to go there. Now, the Sooners skip out on Kansas State, and they get TCU at home, which Texas has to go there. But it's weird. Just a couple of different results kind of change it just a little. It's not a ton of a change, but it maybe fractionally back toward, maybe they have an equal schedule or what have you. What game are you looking forward to the most in the country?
This weekend?
Yep.
Maybe just because I'm interested in seeing how this matchup goes down. How does Colorado bounce back after that blowout loss on the road to Oregon, and now they got to turn around and play an offensive electric team in USC, and then USC, if they tackle or try to tackle like they tackled at Arizona State, Colorado's going to give them problems. I'm not suggesting they're going to lose. So that one, I think, excited might not be the word for it. It's the most interested I have for it. And then Texas, Kansas. Is Kansas real? Is Kansas real?
I think
the
I'm going to go.
Quarterback's real.
Yeah, and running back is too. Devin Neal's good. Is this these three teams that are undefeated in the Big 12? Does Kansas have the best offense?
It's a good question. Statistically, probably they do.
Well, it'd be hard to be better than OU's just because of those two.
Well,
that first game beat down.
But the eye test will show you
Right.
Kansas looks a little bit flashier, I guess.
I think my favorite game's Friday.
Cincinnati BYU?
No, Utah at Oregon State.
Yeah, your Beavers are. They can't drop
Bounce
you.
back for the Beavers.
Everybody loves a good bounce back.
LSU Ole Miss is a good one.
Yeah.
Lost a tick of luster with Ole Miss not being able to get Bama last week.
And Duke might be catching Notre Dame at the right time.
Notre Dame's got to be disappointed.
After that
should
disappointing
have won
loss,
that
they
game.
had that game, should have won that game, and didn't.
Nope. The game that has a chance to be the biggest beating of the weekend?
I'm not even looking at the schedule. I can't think of one.
Tennessee, South Carolina. You remember what happened in that game last year?
Tennessee has some revenge.
Heupel will
in
score
mind.
100 if he can. He will not pull off the Dogs.
Where's it at?
It's at Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. If he can.
If you can. He may not be able to.
Rattler played really good in that game a year ago. He played really good last week.
I'll tell you what, he has to be rising up at least a little bit up the draft boards because he is taking a beating behind that terrible offensive line, and he just keeps coming back, which I don't think people here thought he had in him when he was a pretty boy out of high school starting for the Sooners. Yep. Perfect timing, Jared. I'm glad we pushed the Ryder Cup talk to the end. Because now we have tomorrow's first round foursomes matches.
Cool.
In order. So, leading off, I assume this is in order from top to bottom. Leading off for the US of A, Scotty Scheffler and Sam Burns. And they will play the most volatile pairing maybe in Ryder Cup history. Johnny Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton. Whoever is in charge of the bleep button, get ready. Your finger's going to get wore out with those two. So it's Scheffler, Burns, Rahm, and Hatton. Then you got Max Homa and Brian Harman versus the Scandinavian pair of Ludvig Aberg and Victor Hovland. Fowler and Morikawa against Lowry and Sepp Straka. Xander and Cantlay against Rory and Tommy Fleetwood. Just kind of looking at it. Foursomes have been the format that USA has pretty well dominated, which is kind of weird. You'd think it'd be the Europeans because they're such good friends, supposedly. That looks like the first and the last are obviously the flashy matches. Scheffler, Burns, Rahm, Hatton, Xander and Cantlay and against Rory and Tommy Fleetwood. Mm-hmm. The deciders will be there in the middle. I would think Max Homa and Brian Harman would have a hard time beating Ludvig Aberg and Victor Hovland. Fowler, Morikawa, Lowry, Straka. You'd probably lean that one toward the Americans, eh?
Would you?
I think so. Just depends. Depends on if the Europeans find that European magic on European soil. Do you know the last time USA has beaten the Europeans on their home soil?
You said this before. I can't remember. It's been a while.
1993.
Yeah, that's a while.
30 years ago. Now, why has that been the case?
I don't know. Home court advantage? I don't know. Home field advantage? I don't know.
There is that in golf that's different than anything else. Because the course can be set up to favor the team that you have. For instance, let's say, and this probably isn't the case because everybody hits it 14 miles now, but in that 30-year stretch, there were probably times where the American style of golf was just pound it and find it and gouge it out from there. You can grow the rough up to your calf.
Yeah.
Your short hitters can hit it right down the middle of the fairway, and you give yourself that advantage with the course, the home course setup. I think that has been the case. I think the greens have historically been much slower in these European venues than they are in America. And the Europeans have made, if you go back and watch those Ryder Cups in Europe, any of them that were close, the Euros made putt after putt after putt after putt after putt that they really had to have, and the Americans seem like they cannot ever get one to drop. There's been times in there, though, where the Europeans were just better. Deeper. Sure.
Yeah.
America had Tiger and Phil, but they couldn't play together. So that really wasn't a team. Who else was there? Whereas right there through that, the early 2000s, through 2000, the Europeans, those young guys, the old guys were still young enough to be good, like your Faldo or your Olazabal, your Montgomery. And then all of a sudden you started having Sergio and Poulter and Justin Rose, Lee Westwood, all those guys. It was just perfect timing to where the Euros were just better a bunch of those times.
Which is what I feel is like this year. If you just simply ask me who I think has the better team, it's Europe. I think that's.
But it's not.
You don't think so?
It's 100% not. If you look at official world golf rankings,
okay,
all 12 of the Americans are in the top 25. Just individually. Mm-hmm. They're all in the top 20. The average ranking on the American side is 13th in the world. The average ranking on the European side is 29th. I mean, that's a big difference. Now, Europe is – it probably should be closer to, say, 25 because Aberg has only been a pro for like 3 months. You know, he's playing in the national tournament for Texas Tech back in June. And now here he is in the Ryder Cup in September, October. And so for him to be 80th in the world is pretty astounding considering he just got out there. So that probably pulls them down 3 or 4 spots. But out of the top, they've got 6 guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They've got 7 in the top 25, whereas all 12 of the Americans are in the top 25. And if you ask why can the USA break that streak, I would say the depth of that team, the quality. And then also, a lot of these guys they haven't been there for the beatings that the Americans have taken in the Ryder Cup. That group of players has kind of passed by. The Phils and the Tigers and, you know, whoever else in that group, Justin Leonard, whoever you want to talk about, that was really good in the 2000s and early 2010s. These guys weren't there. These guys have known pretty successful Ryder Cup appearances, especially those when you think back to the last time with Cantlay and Xander and others, their first shot at a Ryder Cup, just dominating the way that they did. Morikawa would be on that list. So that would be reasons why I think that the Americans would have a better chance. 1, they're the deeper team. 2, they've actually had some success in this format against the Europeans in the Ryder Cup. So the next question, who do you think should be favored?
Because of where it's at, I feel like Europe should be favored. That's why I said that, because it just everything I hear, I mean, I'm not as plugged in as you, but everything I hear from these airwaves and national television, it's Europe's to lose. And I guess that's because it's where it's being played at for the reasons you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so
that home course advantage is a thing in golf. There's a lot of familiarity with it and everything. I wasn't questioning USA's talent. It just felt like because of the collection, the team, and not the individual, the team of Europe and where they're being played at. That's why I lean Europe's way. Europeans' way.
They do have like 3 guys that have won a tournament on this golf course. On the course,
that's strategic when you're picking those guys. Who's the captain?
Luke Donald.
Yeah, who are those 3? I could probably
it's
guess.
Nikolai Holgaard, whoever that is. Let's see. I heard this yesterday. Who else has won? It's Nikolai. It is maybe Straka. And it is Robert McIntyre. Bobby Mack. And then they had a 4th guy that maybe the last guy out, Adrian Meronk, had also won. I think he won this year there. It's an interesting golf course. There's like 4 par 4s that can be drivable. Obviously, we said earlier in the show, Hovland made an ace on one of them, number 5. Today, from 305, 3-wood made it. The Europeans actually became the favorite yesterday in the betting markets. It's been USA the whole time, and that flipped just barely. It's a very, very, very slight favorite to the Euros. I think there's 2 reasons. 1, the Americans just haven't won there. Even though this is different guys, they just haven't. There's that out there. And 2, the Europeans historically, they haven't been as deep. So that means they ride their best players into the ground harder, out there every match. Mm-hmm. And those dudes are playing great golf. Because you're going to see 5 times Rahm, Hovland, and Rory. Numbers 2, 3, and 4 in the world. And I doubt they play together unless the Americans start to kind of widen the gap. Then they feel like, if Luke Donald feels like they have to win a point. You know what I mean? Like by putting Rory and Hovland or Rory and Rahm or whoever it is together. But if they don't have to, Then you've got 3 of the top 4 players in the world on your side in 3 of the 4 matches that are out there. Sometimes they can just carry. We've seen it. We've seen those guys, the Sergios or the Olazabal or Faldo or Montgomery. All those guys have just carried teams before because they play so much. What are you looking forward to the most? I have a really weird one. It's really kind of weird, but it's one thing I love about the Ryder Cup. What about you? I'll tell you in a second. What are you looking forward to?
I guess it would be who can have an impact that we're not talking about. Like the young guys that are coming. You mentioned the Aberg kid. Could he have an impact? Could he be beneficial for Europe? We're always going to look at Hovland and Rahm and Cantlay and Koepka. I mean, the names go on and on. But who's a guy who we're not talking about and go, oh, they got one there for him. They got one for team whoever, fill in the blank. And that's answer number 1. Number 2 is Ricky. Can Ricky, he's made this rejuvenation in his career. Can he be impactful? I mean, he'd have to be. He's on this team, right? He got picked to be on this team. So kind of a 2-part answer there. How about you?
Yeah, one thing I was really looking forward to was Justin Thomas hitting the first shot of the Ryder Cup and just sticking it in everybody's face and playing great.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't think he should be there.
Right.
And I do. But they're not even playing the first session, so that's impossible. You know what I really like about the Ryder Cup that you don't see anywhere else in golf? You know what's missing on a lot of the guys?
What's that?
Hats. They go hatless.
Guess I never noticed that.
Yeah. A bunch of them go hatless. And here's the reason. They don't have to have a sponsor on their head.
Oh, they like to play without
hats.
They
love to play without hats, but they can't because of the sponsorship money they're getting paid. Oh, watch. You'll see, if you'll notice, there'll be a bunch of guys without hats on.
Didn't realize that.
I love it.
I do like, and I think it's kind of the same in Europe, but when the Ryder Cup almost it was Live Golf before Live with the crowd. There's a little bit more rambunctious and a lot of pride involved. In USA, they're singing the national anthem and they're chanting USA. I don't know if that is probably a little tampered down a little bit with the proper Europeans, but
I don't want to hear that crap. They clap after we miss just like we yell after they miss. I do not want to hear that. They're not, over there just sipping their tea and gentleman's golf clap. My foot.
They got a few Guinnesses in them. They're good to go. No, the crowd is a little.
It'll be Peronis this week, Jared, in Italy. Peronis.
But the pride in the crowd, it ramps it up. It amps it up, right? Yeah. With the crowd participation and so that's always kind of cool.
It's pretty wild to hear the story, like those guys when they talk about being on that first tee and that being the most nervous golf shot they ever hit in their entire lives. I mean, and you're talking about the best players in the world.
That's the most nervous.
The most nervous they get is on the first tee at a Ryder Cup.
Not the first tee at Augusta.
No, not the last putt to win the Masters.
Not the last putt.
The first tee shot of at the Ryder Cup.
Is that because you feel a bunch of pressure from the represent your team? You're not hitting just for you. You're hitting for your team.
And if you're there on the road, the way they build that thing up, it's like Phoenix, but right on top of you.
Yeah.
So it's just a feeling they don't get, I think, more than anything. But yeah, a bunch of them will tell you that. Okay.
Interesting.
Who has the most pressure on them, team-wise, and then individually?
Well, I think for me, clearly, it's USA the most pressure because you just mentioned it. Statistically, they are supposed to be better, but it is at their place. And they're going to have to live up to that. Individually, I think it is Justin Thomas.
Yeah. For
everything being said about him. He's going to try to prove the doubters wrong. I deserve to be here. But there's a lot of pressure involved with that.
Yeah. To me, there's no doubt who has the most pressure on each team. It's Justin Thomas, and it's Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, Rory.
And it's Rory, not necessarily because of him being the face of the tour and all that, and some of the comments he's made about Liv, even this week, about how those guys on the European side of Liv are missing them more than they're missing them, more than the players there are missing. You know what I'm saying? Like they're starting to realize this is stupid. I love the Ryder Cup, but I can't be there. All right, who wins?
Europe. I think it's Europe because they're at home. I can't about face of what I said earlier. Not because I think they're the – I just think they get it done at where they're doing it at. I'll say Europe.
I hope it doesn't end in a tie. The retaining the cup is stupid because I hate that. That's the only bad part of this is that if it ties, the U.S. wins or retains the cup. I think U.S. wins. I think they get it done for the first time in 30 years. I think they're just the better team. I think it's going to be really close. But I think they get it done. And it's because the depth first. I mean, I think Europe's top guys are absolutely playing better. But I think that the depth of the U.S. team shines through, and they figure out a way to win. Very, very, very close. I think it's going to be very tight. Going to be a lot of fun theater on Sunday.
Yeah, it is.
All right, that was a fun show. I guess now we got to go to that meeting.
It's just we just sign it and walk away. We're fine. Tomorrow, a lot of football.
A lot of football, high school football, college football, maybe even some pro football.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.
That ball is blistered to right. Way